start the story at the beginning, we have to go back years and years ago to when we first committed ourselves to non-fiction cinema. When we decided that documentary was going to be our thing, it was really after the release of An Inconvenient Tax, which was a film that reached millions of people around the country.
I believe that virtually no one in the Congress has a sufficient grasp of the code.
There's not an American breathing today that's not affected by the tax code.
We really looked at the idea that reach over return. While it's great to obviously be able to pay your bills and to be able to make money off of a motion picture, ultimately with a documentary and like a narrative film, it's about the message, you know? If you're truly about it and you truly want to educate people or open an idea to people, start a conversation, you have to have something that's going to reach a large audience. And that's really where this story begins with American-Made Movie.
U.S. Steel Corporation today announced that it's permanently closing
Jones
16
and Lockman steel plant is shut in devastating news.
200 American steel mills shutting down all 1,000 workers.
So leading up to the theatrical release of the film, we decided we need to do something to really get people's attention in a different way, a unique way. And so we said, let's do a bus tour. But, you know, a bus tour similar to a political campaign, but really promoting things with the movie and letting people know about the topic. So we started out, said, let's go, picked 5 to 10 cities, said these are the great cities that we can really hit on this tour.
Yeah, and then that 5 to 10 cities became 15 to 20 cities.
And then became 20 to 25 cities.
And then the next thing we knew, we had 30 cities in 30 days. And we were like, okay, that sounds like a good marketing strategy. Let's do 30 cities in 30 days. That's it.
And then we added 2 more.
Yeah.
So what was really unique about this tour is most movies, they'll just buy an ad block of time around the country and they'll run their ads and maybe they'll send out an actor to 1 or 2 cities. What Nathan and Vincent wanted to do with this film is they wanted to really create a relationship between the community and between the film and between the filmmakers. And so what they did is they wanted to go into those communities and actually appear in these 32 cities over 32 days, which when you think about it, is kind of ridiculous. But what we had to do is we had to put together a team that could actually pull this off. So not only did we need the people that were the absolute best at what they do, but we needed people that wouldn't kill each other in a bus for 32 days.
This is going to be the hardest, worst thing that you've ever signed up for, as we've already explained. This is going to mean something. We're going to go out here for 32 days. We're going to change the way that people think about the way that they consume. While we're out on the tour, we'll have conversations with consumers, with business leaders, with politicians. Along the way, of course, we have logistical nightmares, crazy things that we got to figure out on a day-to-day basis, very little sleep, very tight living quarters, and that's on a good day. So everybody here is just as important as anybody else. And everyone here is a leader over what they've been given.
Everyone's been a part of production or been a part of an event of people coming together, but it's usually like very cookie cutter. So this really is going to be us kind of coming together to find the answer. So the one thing that I think is most important is never think of like the frustration of it. Think of like, how can we solve it? How can we fix it? Because I think if we can just come together, so it's like we just always have to think of, no matter what you're doing, if there's something we need to fix or do differently, let's all just address it.
So he just shared all the accounts.
So the team was absolutely amazing. So we had Jordan, she was the youngest on the group, but the thing about Jordan is you could trust her to give her opinion with 100% honesty. Melissa was a pro. I mean, Melissa's worked with everybody from Marilyn Manson to 30 Seconds to Mars, and working with us sometimes was like herding cats because we had such a ridiculous schedule. Allie, I don't know that I could have survived without Allie. Allie was everything from our social media manager to sound person. Whatever I needed, she was there to help and always had a smile, never had a bad attitude. Mike is probably one of the best photographers I've worked with. Mike always had a smile on his face and a great attitude. Chris is probably one of the most passionate people I've ever met. He had such an intensity because he really cared about the cause. He really cared about the people. He went and he spent all this time building the relationships with these people, and he really wanted to make sure he exceeded their expectations. Daniel, a lot of people don't know this, but Daniel's actually has toured with some of the biggest names in music, and so he was the only one that really knew what it takes to kind of keep people together and to keep things moving. Actually, his official title was merchandise, but he handled a little bit of everything. So I started out a few months before the tour actually planning out the marketing strategy and helping get the team together. And then once we actually left, I directed the behind-the-scenes tour documentary. I oversaw the marketing. I helped kind of manage the team, a little bit everything. I think on average I was sleeping like maybe 3 or 4 hours a night. Nathan and Vincent are probably about one of the best teams you can find because they really do balance each other out. Because you have Nathan, who's really kind of like this Southern gentleman who, when you meet him, you feel like you've known him your whole life. And he's the kind of person that really can just get past all of the nonsense that's going on and just get to the point of what needs to be done. And then Vincent, on the other hand, Vincent is one of those rare filmmakers who's managed to balance being an extremely artistic soul, but also being extremely tenacious, having an immense depth of knowledge about cinema, about marketing, about everything that it takes. And you usually don't find both of those combinations in a filmmaker. When you put these guys together, you really do have a team that I've never seen before.
Actually,
What do you think,
Paul,
Daniel?
right now?
So my main question was, is everyone to pack their
bus?
stuff and be ready to go tomorrow morning?
And all of that. So cool.
Yes, you guys are gonna.
We are one.
Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July.
Same to you. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Hey guys, come on in.
Clyde and Sandra Strickland are an amazing couple that's been working for the last 25 years to change their community and this country for future generations to come.
You know, it was their vision and our dream and a good partnership to be able to bring this film to life. And we're glad everything went the way it did.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without them.
Starting with schedule-wise, so you guys are going to come to Mississippi.
We'll go to Greenwood, and then we'll go to New York. We'll meet y'all up in New York, and then we'll probably go to Charlotte.
Awesome. We actually just talked about it on the car ride. That's a great idea.
And
You
then,
got family there, right?
and then at Atlanta when it gets back here.
Okay.
And,
Which hopefully we'll have the governor at that so that we can make a big,
He needs
smash.
to be there.
I know he needs to be there.
Because in my vision, when I had it, before we ever even talked about making a movie, in the vision it says if we make this movie, it'll change America. Keep us in everything that we do and say will glorify you, Lord. And we love you, Lord. We ask this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right, let's go change America.
All right.
Thank we're doing it. All right, guys. Y'all be good. Good to see you guys.
So we worked with artist Daniel Horowitz, and his stuff's been exhibited around the world, and he created this beautiful design that we ended up using on the posters. And then we had this idea, what if we turn the bus into a giant billboard? And so we worked with Daniel, and it took many, many weeks to get his design to look exactly the way he wanted it on the bus, also to have the marketing elements that we needed to promote the tour. When it was done, we had this beautiful giant billboard of American-made movie that also was the artwork of this internationally known artist.
Do you need a large?
Is y'all ready? I think it's like every artist's dream to travel the country in a tour bus. And, you know, like in college when I played in a band, never got to do it. We just had this really, little van that we drove around in. Then, doing production work and stuff all over the country. Maybe we got an RV if we were lucky. This is the first time that I had ever been in a tour bus.
You know, the living quarters, like the fact that you had this little cot, it seemed all great, like, this little cozy thing, this is awesome, it's kind of your own environment. But then after realizing that that's where you're going to sleep for 32 days, it became a little less exciting.
A little more like the hunt for the Red October. It was like we were in a big submarine with wheels.
We'll just go over some few things about the bus. It's the main things is the heating system, air conditioning system, the thermostats. There's one thermostat over here.
So our driver, Mark, was absolutely amazing. I mean, he's driven everybody from the Jackson 5 to Snoop Dogg, and he wasn't as much a tour bus driver as he was more like a ship captain, because he knew every system on that bus. He knew what needed to be done, when you should do it. He knew the way you should behave on the bus. And a lot of us had never been on a tour bus before, so it really was part driver, part instructor, and part coach, and a little bit therapist. The kickoff of the official American-made movie tour, 2013.
Right on Progress Center Avenue Northeast.
Isn't 316 just right that way if I turn left?
Yeah, 316 was right there. This loops around. There'll be a right coming up.
This is the sleep. I could go with y'all.
Day in there.
This is what I was made for.
Hit the road and get out there and make a difference.
Got to go make a difference.
Vincent and Nathan didn't want to just make a movie. They wanted to make a difference. So what we did is we started out in the city that they started in, which is Gwinnett County, Georgia. And the city and the community leaders really came around to help support and to make this tour a success and to kick us off in the right way.
The wind's caught underneath it, and it's pulling the wrap off the bus. So day one, our first problem, we got to get this fixed like immediately. So Vinny's calling the company right now and trying to remedy the problem.
Every town's got that one person that knows the history of the town and everything in it.
In our town, that's Elliot Brack, and so he came on the bus and was showing us around our own backyard all the things made in Gwinnett County.
They've got 27 plants across the country. They employ 5,500 people. Horace is a German company out of Hanau, Germany. On the left is a warehouse for Sherwin-Williams. It's place on the left, Makita Tools. They make all kind of things like saws and... That's right. Now, that's about it until we come to Okabashi next.
Most of our machines have come from Taiwan.
Okay, I got you. Then you turn this to shoes.
When you got 20,000 employees, that's something.
It's really something to see what's in your own backyard that you never realized was made there. So that was kind of the goal with the film, is to connect people with the understanding of the products and the things that are in their backyard.
Yeah, so that's why we really wanted to do the tour. Having shot the film, we felt a connection to the people that were working in these factories, the people that were behind our products. So as we went from place to place, we got to give that experience to anyone who would come along on the tour with us.
So starting out in Gwinnett County, it was definitely special because that's where our families are based. And seeing my mom and dad at the screening at the Gwinnett Braves thing, it was definitely special.
Yeah, I mean, here we were in the stadium that's right in the middle of our hometown. And it was special to have this big, American-made movie tour bus there and have my grandpa who worked in manufacturing, my uncles that worked in manufacturing, my dad that worked in manufacturing. Basically, I'm the only guy that hasn't worked in manufacturing in my family. But here we are doing a film about the importance of this topic, and it was just so special to have them there on that day. And then, of course, it was great to have Christy, my wife, and daughter there just to say goodbye, because we were going to be gone for quite a while.
So after months of planning, we had our first night. It was in the Gwinnett Braves Stadium. We had a packed house. We're ready to go. They're actually going to screen the movie after the game. And then it started raining, and raining, and raining. And the game was delayed. I think it was maybe 10:30, 10:45 before they even started playing the movie. And by that time, most of the people had left. But that was day one. We went on.
So it's a little after 5 in the morning. We had to drive through the night to come into Atlanta because the wrap that was on our bus that says American Made Movie was peeling off. And we still have about 31 cities and 31 days to go.
So hopefully getting everything to the point where it's able to be washed.
Nice.
So you guys can keep a nice clean tour bus.
I guess let's wait for Ryan and head on to our first destination.
Which is because
Dreamland Barbecue. Dreamland Barbecue in Alabama.
Our next stop was Birmingham, Alabama, which happened to be the home of one of the best barbecue places on the planet, Dreamland Barbecue.
Ooh, it smells good. Just follow the smell.
All right, we're outside of Dreamland Barbecue, Birmingham, Alabama. Just had to feed the crew because we have to eat right. In today's USA Today, we made the money section, so that's good. You can see, film makes case for buying U.S.-made stuff. Pretty cool.
All right, come on, guys.
Dreamland Barbecue, hey. Alabama.
I'm gonna have a printer. I'm gonna print the schedule here, and the next day's schedule.
Start screening at 5. We're eating here, and that's during the screening. So the screening's still going on.
Before making this film, I think none of us really had any connection to a lot of these cities other than ones we lived in. And I think that after completing the film, we definitely had a new relationship with those cities. Greenwood, Mississippi is a very special place to all of us. And so it was great to bring back the movie and the bus to the city that we spent so much time during the production of the movie.
I've got a good friend of mine here. Nathan and Vincent came through during the year of Robert Johnson.
Viking probably, I think it's safe to say, is the lifeblood of the community here.
We're going to give you some more blues on this Sunday afternoon. What a nice day it is. We've got cotton fields on one side, we've got cornfields on the other side, and we've got the American-made movie all over the place here in Greenwood, Mississippi on their tour.
While we were in Greenwood, Mississippi, we had to go back and visit Robert Johnson's gravesite. He's a famous blues musician, story of the crossroads. It's a documentary all of its own. But, while we were out filming the movie, we went there to check out the gravesite, learning that it was there. And that's how we actually found Poe at the AM radio station. So, on the tour, we just had to go back. So, in Tupelo, what happens, Chris? So we basically just get there.
Introduction to Denise, who's going to introduce us. Actually, she's going to walk us around with Brian, I think is his name.
Okay.
The guy that you met with before.
Okay.
Going to take us on a tour of the facilities, workforce development training, and so forth.
We have a lot more students that come in and test out at what we call fast track. This is custom made to see if someone could be a sewer.
With Tupelo, Mississippi, they were one of the cities we explored during the research for the film. And the thing that really connected us there was about their workforce development. There's something about how an area can use their educational system, technical or post-secondary, to be able to connect people to jobs. And Tupelo was a great example of doing that. So it was great to come back after we completed a film, which unfortunately didn't get to have them in it, but at the same time allowed us to get to see firsthand what goes on behind the scenes with their workforce development.
We really wanted to establish a relationship with these communities. So we would do tours, we'd do media appearances, we'd do the screening, then after the screening we would do panel discussions because we really wanted to make it about them. We wanted to really find out what challenges they were facing, what solutions they were finding, and what we could do to help them out. The response we got in Tupelo really let us know that we were on the right path and we were really bringing something to the table that people could use and that there was a lot of value in.
We are going to talk about the American-made movie. The bus is making its way across America. 32 cities in 30 days. Crazy, I tell you.
We stopped at the pasta shop in Nashville, Tennessee. We met John and Carrie Aaron, who had the idea to start this pasta company after their honeymoon in Italy. And what they did is they really wanted to create pasta that had the same care and the same quality and the same attentiveness you give to a small batch of pasta that they found in Italy. So they spent a really long time trying to perfect this, and they brought it back to Nashville. And then after that, they decided to expand on that, and now they have 250 different types, different shapes of pasta, everything from college logos to cats to alligators, you name it, and it's becoming one of Nashville's most successful businesses.
Since the dawn of digital cinema, the art of the projectionist has sort of been lost. And so Vincent had taken it upon himself to make sure that he checked the image control and picture quality at every single venue that we went to. I think actually out of all the venues, maybe we had one real projectionist the whole time. So, it became Vinny's job.
So we really wanted to be sure to connect the communities that we visited to the film. So what we would do is after the screening, we would have a panel where we'd bring in local business leaders and have them tell their story, much like John and Carrie's story, so that we could learn from them so that people could hear how other people in their communities were making things work.
Who looks at the community as it relates to manufacturing, looks at where the gaps are in the community, where are the jobs unfilled.
We've worked with a lot of PR teams and publicists on different projects, campaigns, and they're all a lot of talk. It's all about, oh, I'll get you this, or I know this person. But Trey Ditto and his team are none of that. They are just the greatest people to work with because they're not all talk. They'll tell you the truth about things, yet at the same time, they get stuff done. And they'll take an invested interest in your project, not necessarily just shipping out a release. So we were just really, really grateful to have them on the project.
Absolutely. They worked tirelessly, hours after hours. If we were up, they were up. And every morning on the tour, we would wake up and have some sort of interview. Radio, television, you name it. The local press came out, and it really made this whole tour successful.
hear it live as you're watching it on the TV.
So when you work on morning news, you have to drink a lot of coffee. So some of these guys that we would meet, they were all fantastic. They were all total pros. But sometimes by the time we got there at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, they were already on pot number 3 of coffee, and they were shot out of a cannon.
20 states, 32 cities. There you go. That's your tour. Yep. So, hopefully we'll start here, talk to the cities, and then we'll walk that a ways and show the whole bus. Now, who can do me a favor? Wipe my lens, please.
Mike, you didn't know you'd be doing it this morning, right?
No, I'm getting some
requires
credit.
Here comes, that's John Pertzbarn right there.
Assistant camera.
When you shop, do you try to buy things made in America? American Made movie was made by Vince Vittorio and Nathaniel McGill, and they are in St. Louis today. They're getting ready for a preview of their documentary. It's going to be showing tonight at the Tivoli. And guys, thanks so much for coming into St. Louis.
Really appreciate it.
Where are you off to next?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. I'm from Milwaukee, and I ought to know it's good old
Oh,
Plattsburgh.
for heaven's sake, there you go.
All those
Cut to me,
products.
cut to me.
Rankin Technical College was very impressive. It was like the Harvard or Yale for a technical school, just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool because private industry had come together to make sure that every course, every lesson, everything that was taught to students was going to be able to be applied in the real workplace. So, you know, where most colleges and universities, you go there, you get a degree, you get a 4-year piece of paper or whatever. This is all about job placement. So these students can bank off the fact that they can go there, get a quality education, and then go right into a career that's going to pay buku dollars for what's in demand today.
Contrary to most schools, you go to school Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. These guys are usually here 6 to 8 hours every day, 5 days a week. This is work. This is what we're training them for. This is what we want them to do. This is why they get employed and get a good wage when they come out of it.
I bought a homeless guy shirt for $20.
I'm not sure that business model is sustainable.
It's not very sustainable because I don't have that much money. We have a lot of dates to do, and I don't have $20 per city, that's for sure.
But very nice.
For now.
A manufacturing job, a single manufacturing job, and I don't have the numbers right here, but it has the greatest multiplier effect than any other job.
We had some really good press this morning.
It actually got a lot more people out than I thought it would. The morning show was really popular, I guess.
Yeah. And I think overall it was a good day. We accomplished a lot, and it's funny how we're starting to kind of refine things as we get further along, and I think we're realizing what's most important about the tour. Maybe something we thought that was more about packing the house or more about selling merch. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's about making that connection with some of the people that are the ones that are going to have us come back to the city or talk to the people that are going to have an influence. So I mean, I think ultimately we made a product that makes people feel good about what this country can do. If we as consumers and we as business leaders get behind the brand of our community and this country. And that's what we need to do. There's not any question.
I want to go to
Can we get right there, Mark?
America.
Right there, like right on the Times Square area. Could pull
Yeah,
a
but
bus
not,
up?
yeah, but not with that trailer. Like I said, we can't take that trailer.
We're gonna have to get a hotel for the trailer section anyway.
Yeah,
So.
but I can pull up right there at it, yeah.
If you want to, I control your volume over on this side. Basically, I'm just gonna pot you up on one of these lines.
Their board here says made in the USA. I was gonna do that actually.
Couple of filmmakers. They are the makers of American-made movie. How much will this help if all of us truly do try to buy American-made products from local businesses?
We definitely have a long way to go. I mean, there's no way that it's going to change overnight. But like anything, if we continue to practice what we preach and continue to support our local economy and support this country, it's bound to happen. We're going to bring things back.
Well, I want to thank both of you very much for being with us. I hope you enjoy your time in Milwaukee today.
Thank you so much.
What's the 9131939?
Yeah, I don't have any idea what you did. How do you like them apples, huh? Wrong information.
Oh my gosh, what a mad rush this morning. Huh.
So how did you guys end up there? Who knows?
I think it was just a flip-flopping of information on the sheet.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure. Yeah. Good to meet you.
Nathan and the team.
So everything you see there in life size or larger than life size.
Amazing.
There you go.
This is incredible. I'm blown away. I mean, it really is gorgeous. This place is incredible.
It is.
I've never seen anything like
I mean,
this.
this truly celebrates manufacturing as well.
We welcome you to Milwaukee. We've been waiting for you. We know that we are city number 7 out of 32, but it is my hope that you remember us fondly. And I think that you will, because as Tim mentioned, if you're talking about manufacturing, Milwaukee has to be part of that conversation.
Well, I just want to welcome you all here to Villa Palermo. I'm Giacomo Faluca, the president and CEO, and we're honored that you would come and visit.
So Gaspati and Zena Palermo moved from Italy to Milwaukee in the 50s, and the only thing they had with them was their family recipes. They opened a bakery somewhere around 1964, and it quickly became one of the most popular Italian bakeries in Milwaukee. Because of the demand for their pizza, they actually decided to start a frozen line of pizzas, and that was the birth of Palermo Pizza. To this day, it's still family owned and operated, and it's actually one of the largest pizza brands in the world. Along the tour, you meet these people that just kind of stand out because they're rock stars. They're so passionate about what they do, and Rocky was one of those guys. He was passionate about making Milwaukee the best it could possibly be, and he was just passionate about sharing that with people, and that was one of those things that was just so infectious. By the time we left, we loved Milwaukee twice as much as we did when we got there, which we already loved it, but Rocky somehow made us love it more.
Thank you for coming here. Thank you for doing what you've done with this movie for American manufacturing. But thank you for what you've done for the city as well. Great.
You deserve a stand-up ovation right there. That was a performance if I ever saw one. It's really just something special about being in a factory. It changes your relationship to your products because you get to see how things are made, how things are put together. And then when you walk into the store, you have a different relationship with that product. You don't think about it just as what's the price point or what's the quality. Think about who's behind this thing, who made it, where's it from, and like, what am I really contributing to when I buy it?
And so, like on the tour, when we made sure to stop in a lot of these factories, it was really something because we got to see some during the making of the film. But then to add on to that and see these other factories with these other people, it's like we had a new respect for the people that were behind the products that we bought.
One of the cool things about this tour is we really got to go to some of the best movie theaters on the planet. So the Oriental Theater was one that opened in 1927. It's the only theater in America that features East Indian artwork, and it has the original Kimball organ that it had when it opened in 1927. It's actually the largest Kimball movie organ in America, and I believe it's the 3rd largest in the world.
I honestly got weepy-eyed at a movie about manufacturing, and I didn't think that was possible.
If there's one city that stood out to us as one of the best on our tour, I'd have to say it was Milwaukee. There was definitely something very special, and I think that not only their passion for the city, but something about how they kind of opened their arms to us and said, hey, come into our city, this is who we are.
As great as Milwaukee was, and we could have just ended the tour right after that, we had many more cities to go, and next up was Chicago.
So Chicago was a really fun stop. We got to visit Wrigley Field, which, there's nothing, as we said in the film, nothing more American than baseball. And we followed that with our screening at the University of Illinois Chicago, where it really seemed to make an impact. People were very passionate about the cause. They really seemed to support it, and they really helped us get the message out.
The 1996 annual report for Starbucks, where Starbucks sent us coffee beans. We actually put the coffee bean right into the paper.
We're a little bit older than, 142 years old.
Smokestack hasn't been painted. The reason for that is that the federal government has said we might be able to lop half of it off. We buy all of our pulp in North America, nothing from offshore.
How is this process? This is the way, the first way it comes to you, right?
Yeah, this is the way it comes to us. We don't do any pulping in our place. We have no bleach inside. We don't do anything environmentally like that.
French Paper Company has been manufacturing paper in Niles, Michigan for 140 years. We had a really special relationship with them because they printed our posters, they printed everything that we had for the tour, all of our promotional material. So Brian and Jerry French gave us a really cool behind-the-scenes tour of their factory. Now, besides the fact that it's 140 years old, they also generate their own power. They do this because they have their very own hydroelectric plant. They run off of the river that runs behind their factory.
Chris, where are we and what's going on?
We're in Michigan. We're doing another screening.
So our bus was trying to back up, and apparently there's a wedding going on, so we got kicked out by the wedding because we were trying to take a picture and so are they, and so the bridesmaids attacked me and was like, no, but our name's on the marquee, and I was like, well, so is ours, and your wedding's supposed to be done, so we gotta move in, but so I just got attacked by bridesmaids.
Here we are.
Thank you so much for your I just wanted to...
Thank you so much. Stay afterwards for the Q&A, and we hope you enjoy the film.
I think it was very powerful, and it spoke to me on many, many levels.
You got to see the movie. It's informative, but you don't feel like you're watching a documentary.
The Vaselli family opened their doors and gave us a behind-the-scenes look at how they make cheese.
Our job is to make sure we're producing, our product on an everyday basis in spec.
So John Maselli was just 15 years old when he was driving his Model T through the streets of Cleveland selling traditional Italian cheese. Since then, his family's cheese company has grown to be one of the largest Italian cheese manufacturers in the United States. Although the pace of the tour was sometimes grueling, it did have its perks, like our stop at Cleveland's famous brew house.
Welcome to the brew house. We have been here in Cleveland for about 2 years, and we have been brewing in this room since actually before day one.
I think the brew house was a different kind of manufacturing that we had been a part of, and it was very medicinomatic to be able to, watch a film about manufacturing in the midst of some form of manufacturing. I mean, yes, we were in a brew house, we were in, a brewery, watching the film, so it was just an amazing, cool community experience. Youngstown is one of those towns that you think of when you hear the word manufacturing, and so to be able to come into a factory there, meet with Congressman Tim Ryan, having the press there ready to go, was just unbelievable. But the most important part of it for us was getting to meet the workers, to talk to them, to shake their hand, to say thank you for doing what you do.
And I think the key word is cooperation. And if we're going to have a significant increase in manufacturing here in the United States, we need a very high level of cooperation. This is a great event because it's another opportunity, I think, for our valley to really get highlighted in not only our past, but our future. And I think that's very important. So I just want to say thank you to all of you who worked on the film.
A good work environment, good guys to work with, and I like the type of work because it's something you can take pride in, something you can do.
It's sort of a thing in my family. Everybody's been either in the steel industry or a fitter or a welder somewhere in the manufacturing industry. It's nice to carry on that tradition.
We were treated to a gourmet lunch by CEO Thomas Zidian of Summer Garden Foods, followed by a tour of his factory.
Nathan McGill. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So we're touring around, taking a look at the facility, and we look over and we spot a Viking oven. And just turned out that this was the stuff that they were using to make things. It was awesome.
Yeah. You figure if you get the right stuff, you'll have it the rest of your life.
Right.
Summer Garden Foods really helped us see the relationship between the things we buy in the stores and how they're made. Before that, a lot of the products I'd seen on shelves, but I never really thought about how they got in the bottle. Summer Garden Foods showed us how everything starts out in the kitchen, how they do their research, how they put all the quality control measures in place, and then how they manufacture it so that it tastes exactly the way it did when they prepared it. We finished the day with another packed screening, followed by a 6-hour drive to Louisville. We arrived in Louisville, home of the Louisville Slugger, to a warm welcome from the community and definitely from the media.
I feel like the most important difference that we can make as filmmakers is in education, because what we're doing is we're taking a film and we're introducing it to audiences and communities that are applying the things that we're talking about, like workforce development, economic development, the skills trade. So it was great to be able to talk firsthand with so many of the educators and so many of the people that are working day to day on the issue about what other communities are doing. And being able to tie that together was just super important to us, and something that we want to expand upon, as the film matures, as the film goes on to make a difference, even after this tour. We're also building a curriculum with the documentary that can be used to show in the classroom, break it down to a classroom time period, break it into 5 minutes with talking points.
Because that's a cool part about documentary films, is that you're starting a conversation. And so to be able to start that conversation and be able to give someone something to go further with that would live beyond us and live beyond the film, that's something powerful.
This is America's moment in manufacturing. There's a manufacturing renaissance going on in our country, and we'll do our part here in Louisville to make sure manufacturing comes back big and strong and is the best in the world right here in Louisville, Kentucky.
There's a lot of people that would love this stuff and never have the opportunity to even know that this kind of a career exists.
They were just talking about how they don't have anyone right now that runs this machine. Shoot that. There's jobs right there.
I need to run that part right now.
So we had a screening at the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts. It's a beautiful venue that hosts some of the top music acts, plays, you name it. We had a packed house, people were enthusiastic. I really felt like we were starting to make a difference.
It's tough to work for the news. It's funny because this is actually what I went to school for. I wanted to do this when I started. Are you happy with the decision and the way you went? Or you kind of wish that you were on TV a lot? I'm glad could have had the Vincent Vittorio morning show.
Not often we have movie makers, directors, Vincent Vittorio and Nathaniel McGill join us, part of the American-made movie bus tour.
And so when people walk out of the movie in each city, we're getting responses that, they feel inspired and they feel hopeful and they want to do something. And this issue is really hitting home with a lot of people, so.
So things are growing great. We're at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Seems like we're really starting to get some momentum. And out of all places, Indy Motor Speedway, tire blows out. And unlike most people at Indy, we didn't have a pit crew, but we did have something better. We had Mark.
It's all soft metal, so I can bend it back in shape.
We had lots of goals with this bus tour. And one of the big goals was finishing in our home state of Georgia and driving literally right up to the Capitol, getting out and having a press conference on the Capitol steps and really kind of pounding home that, look, we went all over the country. We're back to our home state, which is doing things with manufacturing, and just to start that conversation. But, we knew it's going to be a hard thing to do to pull together in the heat of summer. We were almost halfway through. We've done some great things in some cities, some others that, fell short, not for anything that we did wrong as much as we didn't have the partnerships, or we didn't have the direction, or we didn't know where we were going in certain places. But we've got a list we came up with that we really, really have to hit hard.
So we had all these plans for Atlanta, and before leaving on this bus tour, we actually sat down with the governor's workforce development office, told them all about the tour, shared the movie with them. But about halfway through the tour, we started to work out some of the details that were going to be happening at the Capitol, and communication just kind of shut down. So here we are in Indianapolis, and we're not getting phone calls, we're not getting return emails, we don't know if we're going to have a place to go, we don't know if we're going to even be able to pull the bus up in front of the Capitol. I mean, nobody is giving us answers, and we desperately need them because we are closer and closer, hour by hour, day by day, to getting home and experiencing basically failure in our own hometown. We can't have that, so we have to get it done.
But these nuts are rusted in here, and if I start, I'm going to end up messing up because I know they all not going to come out. So it looks bad.
Name shows.
That goes back here, says Fox 2 Detroit on it. Just want to get a close-up of there.
You guys from Georgia?
Yes, absolutely. Nathan, good to meet you.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you.
Works good.
Whose bunk smells like Fritos? He didn't say anything. So. Oh, he pointed. My final question, and probably the most important question: how has the friendship lasted, even though you guys are touring around on a bus together? Are you guys good?
It's been good. It's been good. We got a good team, and we all have the same vision, and we're glad to be in Detroit.
I should ask those dudes that. Look at that. Those dudes right there. They'll tell me the truth. Everybody still good on that bus? Yeah, all right.
There you go.
Yeah, we were talking about the smell of Fritos earlier, so. All right, you guys, you know the movie. We'll put all the information on our website about the American-made movie. So much about Detroit's history is in that film.
When we were filming in Detroit, there was really something powerful about seeing a city that was so dependent on domestic manufacturing that had literally gone to ruins. And, having a personal connection there because of my wife and her family all being in Detroit, it was definitely very real to see it firsthand. So going back with the bus was something, we had to make sure to do.
We didn't expect that the day that we would roll into Detroit would be the day that Detroit went down.
Officials in Detroit are reportedly considering a controversial new plan to save their city from financial ruin by using the president's health care overhaul to offset the fact that they've just become the biggest city in U.S. history to file for bankruptcy.
So after a great screening on a weird day in Detroit, Vincent and Nathan had to leave in a rent-a-car from the bus because they had to make it to the next city in time for an interview.
So we finish up the screening in Detroit. Nathan and I are sitting there in the rental car and driving out and pull up GPS, and
it looks like that it'll be shorter to get to Buffalo if we actually go through Canada. So we didn't have our passports or anything, but we just go to the border and ask the border guard, hey, we don't have our passports, but would it be possible if we just took the road through Canada? Now, this is like at, 12 at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. So I don't even know what we were thinking that we were going to actually make this 4 or 5 hour drive. But here we go into Canada. And, of course, about a mile in, something happens that we should have thought of, but our phones just completely die. We're in Canadian airspace. We are lost in Canada.
Woke up this morning, found out that Vinny and Nathan hadn't checked in New York where they were supposed to be, and then found out some more information that they hadn't left Canada. They were stuck in Canada somewhere, and then it just became a logistical nightmare of trying to organize what they were doing, plus make sure we were still doing what we needed to do.
Because there was no communication, no one knew that we actually got a hotel room that night and crashed for a few hours, so we didn't exactly meet our deadline of getting to Buffalo on time. What was unexpected was that when we finally did get across the border, we were getting text messages that Congress was looking for us, that, the National Guard had been called, that, the tour bus was freaking out because they didn't know where we were.
Because of all the misinformation surrounding where they might be and if they even reached the border yet, there was nothing to say that they were there and they were detained. I was worried about them having not gotten there because they were both tired and, they were both driving a long distance and their phones weren't working, so that kind of worried me and that something might have happened.
I mean, it was a nightmare. It was really serious for all of them on the line. Me and Vinny had no idea any of it was going on, so, it wasn't our fault.
Hello?
mean, the real truth is that if you have a driver's license and a photo ID, they can't keep you out of your own country. So they can just be jerks, but, you know. A lot of people ask me, how many people can you fit in your Malibu?
Now we know.
We are here at the American Grill in East Aurora, and of course we brought out the bus. We've got our main star, Mark Andel, from the film.
Every man wants to provide for his family. That's the natural thing to do. But being an entrepreneur, I have a lot of livelihoods at stake. So it means a lot more to me. I put in, every day I have to give 110%.
Clyde and Sandra Strickland are here this weekend. My beautiful wife is here this weekend, and we're just about to, gather up, enjoy some company. It's the first time that everybody involved in the process has really met one another.
One of the highlights of the tour was stopping at the Made in America store. I mean, not only was Mark Andal one of the stars in the film, he really made us feel like we were part of the family. His family just really embraced us and barbecued for us and just showed us a great time while we were there.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So Ted Massanello from USA Coffee Company was a total rock star. Not only did he give us the coffee and supply us with the coffee that we used on the road, but he also showed up at our shows. He brought people in from around the country. He even gave us transportation between different venues when we needed it. We probably could not have done it in a lot of the cities without Ted.
Ted, where are you going? See the best movie ever made.
And I'm really excited because I've never seen it before, and I'm pretty sure you can see Canada, which is also really exciting. And I think we're gonna get wet, which is kind of dumb because we all just did our hair. So, Niagara Falls!
All along this tour, we've experienced some amazing art cinemas and some amazing independent cinemas. But we also have to mention the Regals and AMCs because, these are the chains where most Americans go and see their movies. And we're the exact same. Like growing up, we'd go to the AMC 18 in Lawrenceville. We'd go to the Regal and check out, movies and see what was going on. That's where we experienced our films. And so to be in some of these chains was kind of like a prelude to the theatrical release. It was, it felt very real all of a sudden, and that was a really cool feeling. Validated like our entire careers, basically.
Troy? Really do. Crazy little success story. It's pretty quirky and...
We'll be right back. I love it. I love Warren, Pennsylvania more than I did before now, thanks to the documentary. I think that's so cool.
Take a baseball bat, a Louisville Slugger wooden bat to be exact. It starts in a New York forest. Then truck drivers are hired to deliver those trees to a mill.
Being back at the mill for Louisville Slugger was really something magical, and being able to bring the film there was even cooler. Setting up the screen, literally ordering pizza wings and just sitting down right there. It was really a cool experience. And I remember Nathan and I were sitting to the corner and we were waiting for that scene, that exact moment where they were on screen. Because, it doesn't happen that far into the film, and just waiting and then seeing their response and the eyes or the pointing.
So the Elliott Group was a really cool tour. It's these giant pieces of equipment that manufacturers steal and that run power plants and that run paper mills. And it was a really interesting story because it was one of these companies that was just about ready to close their doors. And a Japanese company came in, saved the day, bought the company. It's still an American-run company. They still produce American products, but now they're able to do it in a way that's sustainable, and they've actually grown the company. The employees we talked to feel like they have more ownership in the business, and they're really happy to work there. It was just an amazing place. You walk around this place and you see these giant pieces of equipment that literally are 3 stories tall, and you see a guy welding on it and he looks like an ant. It was really just like something out of a Terminator movie.
In every city that we went to, we were experiencing something known as the skills gap. And basically what that is that, manufacturers need people for jobs. And they can't find the workers they need to fill every role. And so there's really unemployment numbers that are like crazy in the country. But here are all these open job positions because folks aren't trained for those types of jobs. So this is a huge problem. And we were experiencing it in town after town after town. And something that we really didn't talk about a whole lot in American Made Movie, but, on this tour, we were talking about it every single day. How do we close the gap? And I don't know, it's an important topic, it's an important issue, and I think the tour really helped to communicate that problem and talk about it a little bit more on a day-to-day basis.
If there's one thing it really did outside of just the tour in this film, it started our next conversation of what the sequel is to American Made Movie, which is really understanding the true purpose of education in this country.
For more than a century, Pittsburgh was a center of manufacturing in America, especially in the metals production.
It's phenomenal what you're doing. It is greatly appreciated. We're overwhelmed by what you're doing. As American workers, as union officers, and being a part of the company. It's phenomenal. So I don't know what more I can add. We're just totally impressed and grateful that you would come and see our facility.
Kind of what your film's getting at is with the loss of manufacturing, we've noticed a lot of young students coming in here who haven't been raised with a father in the household, so the basic hand tool skills of this is a wrench, this is a hammer, this is a screwdriver are lost. And the students can leave here and there's no skill gap then. They can go right into the workforce, they're learning the same equipment, so there's no gap there.
So the Da Vinci Science Center was really cool. They really make an effort to not just teach kids about science, but to also get them to interact and to do something useful. They actually have a program where they work with kids to develop patents for ideas that they have.
But when you really get down to it, the key to me is how do we get more kids with the right talents involved in the career and technical schools, here in the United States.
So we visited a lot of factories along the tour, but we never saw anything quite like Ecotech Marine. Tim Marks was a guy who left for college and was afraid his mom was going to kill his fish while he was gone, so he developed this technology that would allow him to monitor his fish, make slight adjustments to keep them alive, and he was able to turn that into a multi-million-dollar manufacturing business.
A closed-down factory is a beautiful thing and a tragic thing. To see this thing that was this big, purposeful, intentional, I want to say almost machine that was putting out things. I mean, Bethlehem Steel built America's most famous buildings, most famous bridges, and here it has become a park. And, right across the street is a movie theater. And we are playing in the theater across from Bethlehem Steel, and it was kind of crazy because this, factory had become a monument. It was almost like a museum, and it was very, beautiful, but it was also very sad.
There definitely was like a sense of melancholy. The fact that this thing across the street from the theater that we were screening the film had built everything that made this country strong with steel, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
U.S. Steel Corporation today announced that it's permanently closing 16 plants.
Jones & Laughlin steel plant is shutting down for good.
A total of 5,000 steel workers employed at several plants here will soon lose their jobs.
The devastating news of yesterday that Bethlehem Steel will close its plant next year.
We were really starting to hit our stride. We would go into a town, we'd meet with the community leaders, we would tour factories, then maybe we would go to a school where they're training the workers for these factories. Then we'd have a screening followed by a panel discussion. We're really starting to see that we were making an impact in these communities and people really cared.
Manufacturing is critical to the economic health of this region and of our country. And we are at a very, very critical point in that our manufacturers have told us over and over, we need skilled, educated employees. So we're very pleased to welcome you and look forward to seeing this film that I believe will totally reinforce the high level, the high importance of manufacturing for Bridgeport, Connecticut, for this part of the state, and for the country.
This is not the real world. We had been through so much with Mary, you know, from filming her story and first meeting her to going back there and spending some more time to capture, you know, even more of her story. And so to be able to go back and kind of, you know, spend more time and see her family and not necessarily have like a big shooting schedule or, you know, a lot of things that we were trying to cram in, we were just going back to share the work that we had done together over the few years.
Cromwell is one of those towns where the community really comes together. Everybody seems to know each other, and they all showed up for the screening. They're really supportive of their hometown hero, Mary.
So my wife and Matt Ravong, an intern from Los Angeles, flew into Boston to join us on the tour. And it was really good to have my wife along. I think sometimes we both have to compromise and kind of live between the margins with the little time we have to spend with our families. So it was great that we both got to kind of bring our wife with for certain parts.
This is technically where we're supposed to be parking, and technically we can tow all these cars, so I don't really know what we should do.
Okay, so you just want to stay where we are?
Yeah, just
stay where we are. I'm just worried if we have a problem with the people.
There's actually a better spot for people over there.
Okay. Okay, we got an 8.
That's a men's 8. Who's a men's 8?
Men's 8?
When we arrived in Boston, the CEO of New Balance, Robert DeMartini, surprised us all with a free pair of their $9.90 running shoes. Besides being my favorite brand of running shoes, New Balance is also the last American athletic shoe company that makes its shoes in the U.S. Our time in Boston was like no other stop on the tour. It was a party. We arrived to a festival. There were performers and bands and food booths. The people of Boston were really supportive of what we were trying to do, and they welcomed us with open arms. A lot of them had been seeing the tour on the news and following us on social media. We were really starting to feel like this film was making a difference.
Thank you guys so much for coming out.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's been a crazy adventure. This is day 22 of a 32-day tour, 32 cities in 32 days. And today we're excited to be back in Boston. So I hope you enjoy the film, and we'll roll it out. You have these special and unique moments as a filmmaker where you realize that the storytelling that you're doing is having an impact on real people's lives. And, you know, having grown up in a manufacturing family where, you know, we were very respectful of our father, and, you know, he was a great dad and we loved him, and we saw how manufacturing impacted his life and then our lives. It was kind of like I was seeing a little bit of my own family in every single one of these workers in Skowhegan, and to be able to take their story and present it back to them and say, you're important, you are of value, the things that you're doing is helping to, you know, make this country great, was a moment that, I don't know, I'll always treasure being able to take the film back there and share it with, you know, these workers.
Every New Balance store anywhere in the world will have a segment of Made in America product that's going to come from the state of Maine and the state of Massachusetts. So I'm encouraged by what you're doing. I'm going to ask you to put everything you can into the quality, into the finish, to make sure that you're as proud of every pair that comes out of that box. But we're going to build more and more shoes right here in Maine. So thank you very much.
We're still having problems with Atlanta coming on board. Really, I'm not sure what the problem was. I mean, I think maybe even Jesus said it best, you can't be a prophet in your own hometown. So I don't know if they weren't taking us seriously or what the deal was, but they just weren't responding in the way that we wanted. So we were really hoping that by the time we got to Manhattan, maybe got some national press, they would see some of that and realize that like we were the for real deal. Like we were out there changing the country and they should be a part of it.
It's about the relationship that we all have to manufacturing. Because if you realize it or not, there is this relationship between the products that we buy and the things that are made in America.
Shooting in New York can be difficult, especially when you have a giant tour bus with a billboard on the side. And it seemed like wherever we parked and wherever we tried to be interviewed, there was some business that seemed to own the sidewalk or some security person who was sure that we were there to blow something up.
Back in my hometown, watching the smoke never stops. I'm gonna live here when I'm older.
The momentum of the tour had built to Manhattan and that national press, and so after we kind of left there, went over to Washington, D.C., we sort of were getting a little bit laid back in the day-to-day interviews, and just in the middle of this interview, Vinny just decides to look over and challenge the guy interviewing us, you know, what kind of shoes are you wearing? And he looks down, and the next thing we know, he's taking off his shoe.
You ruined New Balance, really?
I didn't know that.
The odds. This is unplanned.
No.
The tension is building. Where are his shoes made?
I don't know.
Oh, we're going to look.
Oh my God.
Made in the USA. Look at that.
No, it said made in the USA.
2 points.
I didn't even know it. All right. I'm so proud of myself.
We had lots of partners with the making of the film and with the tour, but I think one of the ones that was the most connecting was Scott Paul, because he's the person on the Hill that's really connecting the issues to the people that matter most. So this VIP screening was really something important for him to be a part of.
In Washington, D.C., we had a private VIP screening at the Alliance for American Manufacturing. It was the kind of screening you would dream of. It had Senator Angus King, and it had leaders from business and leaders from the government. It had the real movers and shakers that could actually make a difference, make the kind of difference that we wanted to make with this
It
film.
doesn't work if all you're doing is trading back and forth and nobody's adding any value. I mean, and that's what we're trying to do in this country, and it's ultimately not going to work. And that's what the film is going to be about.
Please give another round of applause to the
It's about progress, and it's about, for me, it's about America reclaiming its province of creativity and research and development and being the world leader.
So just when we were starting to feel like we were unstoppable, the bus reminded us that we weren't. We had generator problems and toilet problems and blown out tires, but none of that really mattered because our screening at Charlotte was amazing. We had people coming out that were really committed to helping us make a difference.
Things are getting better with Georgia. We've got some conversations going back and forth now. We might be able to do what we want to do, but everything's still not together.
Now, we've both been on the road for a very long time. And although our wives came and saw us in these different cities, we missed our kids and just missed kind of the day-to-day life that we're used to living. So getting to Jacksonville was really special for me to get to see my kids and my wife there, and even grandparents and others that came. It was really something.
How you guys doing? What do you guys think of the bus?
Hey, Daddy, look at me. You want to be sleeping here?
So at the beginning of this, you heard we added 2 more cities to the 30-day, 30-city tour. Well, one of those was Gainesville, Florida, because having gone to the University of Florida, I figured, it's just a little out of the way to go farther south and add that to our tour, and glad we did.
It's complicated and rewarding. We get opportunities that most people don't to travel and to be a part of bigger things bigger than ourselves, especially with the documentary genre. You guys have been amazing. I don't understand how you could live on that bus for so long with each other and not have lost a member yet.
We literally drove through the night to get to Atlanta, and here we are pulling up to the Capitol steps. And maybe it's too early, maybe they haven't gotten there yet, but phone calls not being returned, the email hasn't come in, we're not sure of the total confirmation. We think everything's going to be okay, but, from this point, we just got to go on faith. It's been amazing to spend just a snapshot, just enough time to get a picture in each community. And the thing that came up time after time was the issue of this skills gap.
So after 32 days, thousands of miles, a few technical difficulties, some great successes, times we weren't even sure if we were going to actually make it, we're finally here. It was our last screening.
Filmmaking is such a collaborative effort. It never takes just one person, and with that, running a 32-day bus tour requires several people.
And so we thank you guys wholeheartedly. Let's give them a round of applause.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you.
I feel like in these 32 days in these 32 cities, I felt like we really had a chance to see the real America. It's not the America you see on TV. It's not the America that's run by the celebrities or even the politicians. It's the America that's run by the factory workers and the teachers and the farmers and the average person that you'll probably never see on TV, but the person that's actually making this country run. And it's the people that really aren't divided by politics or class or race or any of that stuff. It's people working together for a common goal, and that goal is really just to have a better life for themselves, a better life for their family, and at the end of the day, a better country. And I really feel honored to have been part of that, and to not just meet these people, but to kind of step into their lives, even if it was just for a day or an hour or a minute, and hear their stories and really see where they're coming from. It really probably made me more proud to be an American than any moment I've ever had in my life.
32 cities in 32 days. It's an experience that we'll always remember, and we're glad we're able to experience it with the people, involve our families, and be able to do what we did with this film.
What we set out to do, we accomplished. It was all about the reach. It was about taking the film and making sure that the communities in America where this issue mattered the most had a chance to engage with the film and engage with the people in their local communities that were making a difference on a day-to-day basis. So I think to that extent, we succeeded in the mission that we set out on. Whatever would happen after this point with the theatrical release, with, video on demand or DVD, we can always look back to the tour and say that we took this film to its audience.
One of the things that's always been great about America is Americans.
A new documentary opening in select cities tomorrow takes an in-depth look at U.S. manufacturing in the global economy.
Vincent Vittorio and Nathan McGill, both the director and producer of the American-made movie.
I mean, what do you hope, people come away from your film with?
We hope people see that they play a part.
If we pay more attention to that and we can get behind it, we can actually do something about the issues in the country.
Why this film, why this topic, and why you?
This is a movie about, the importance of change in America, specifically looking at manufacturing. We look at it as something that's died in America, but we don't think it has.
I was riveted by this documentary.
I watched the trailer. It looks like a fantastic movie.
Because this could launch a grassroots movement unlike anything that we've seen in a really long time.
We got to get these kids to dream again and to see this movie, because this movie will do it. Let's rebuild the American dream.
So the big question is, you guys ready to do another tour?